Welcome back, Wicketers! Saran here once again from the Wicket Watchers podcast. And we have yet another solo podcast, which means you know what time it is. It's time for a bit of the old Asia Cup. It's been really interesting watching the last few weeks, hasn't it? There hasn't really been many upsets of note, but it's certainly been interesting. So I decided to, obviously the group stages are done. Well, the first round is done, and that means that the Super 4 is starting tomorrow. So I'm gonna have to try and edit this quite quickly. But tomorrow is gonna be the first Super 4 match. The four have been confirmed: Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and India. Those four teams are in the second round. And if you guys don't know, the top two teams will finish in the final, and they will battle it out for the title, and the other two teams are eliminated. So there's no knockout system here, it's just the top two teams get into the final. Now, I decided to make this video as a bit of a preview for the Super 4, because I've made my preview for the main Asia Cup. This time it's a little bit different. I'm going to give you the players who've done well for their team, and then I'll give you some disappointments, then I'll give you my overall player to look out for, and then where I think they'll finish. And as I go along, the teams will get better. So I've already told you which teams are in there, and also before I get started with anything, I don't know if you have seen the news in the Asia Cup. The former Sri Lankan under-19 captain Dunith Wellalagi, he had to return home to Sri Lanka after his father died, so all condolences for him. I hope he is doing well after such a big event happened in his life. And it is a big thing to return back to the tournament to play for Sri Lanka. I don't think I would have been able to do that. That's a massive thing, so I wish him all the best in what has happened to him. But anyway, with that out of the way, we'll get started with the teams. So, we'll get started with some brief trends that I've seen this tournament. So, the main trend has obviously been spin friendly. This has been a very, very spin heavy tournament, and it's no secret that most Asian sides struggle with spin, and that's a big contributor to why spinners have done so well here. For example, Kuldeep Yadav, well, technically he should be the highest wicket taker, because the highest wicket taker, Junaid Siddique, has been knocked out. UAE have been knocked out in the first round, so technically Kuldeep Yadav is the leading wicket taker. What is surprising though is Saim Ayub is second. Yep, Saim Ayub, the Pakistan batter turned spinner. It's very weird how that's happened. I'll speak about him a bit later, but this has been a tournament that's been dominated by spin. And there haven't been many close matches this tournament as well. Most of them have been won quite comfortably in the second half or first half. It's not really been too many thrillers of note, and the only possible one I can think of at the top of my head being a bit of a thriller is Afghanistan and Sri Lanka, but even then, it's not really much of a thriller, is it? Sri Lanka kind of coasted home. So, in terms of an entertainment value, it could have been better, could have been worse, but when you have India around, then you never know what kind of scores can come, and definitely this has been another case of that. India have batted incredibly well this entire tournament. I'd say they've been the top team for batting, and they've been the top team in general. In most statistics, they absolutely knock the other teams out the park. And I'm pretty sure, I'll give you my proper prediction later, but it's not rocket science for who I'm going to choose. And I think I should get started. I think that's enough waffle. So, Bangladesh. That's the team who I think are going to finish last or second to last. And I was really surprised when they managed to get through to the next round. I was certain Afghanistan were going to make it through. Certain. And the fact that they didn't go through was very, very surprising to me. There's loads of different reasons why they didn't go through, but If I did that, if I covered that, I'd be here all day. So, but Bangladesh. Let's start with the openers. By far been like one of their by far been their best. Saif Hassan and Tanzid Hassan, two attacking young batsmen at the top of the order. They've done really quite well for Bangladesh. And I looked back at some of their games, and it was really interesting. Against Sri Lanka, the top four got folded out quite easily, apart from someone who scored around 28. That might have been Liton Das, but the top four folded quite easily, and that meant that the lower order had to carry the scoring. They still scored 148, but I found it interesting that when the openers didn't fire, that's when the batting struggled. And it didn't struggle when the openers fired. When they won games when the openers fired. Saif Hassan and Tanzid Hassan, both two exciting young Bangladesh batters, ones for the future. And what's crazy is I don't think off the top of my head any of them are left-handed. I could be completely wrong in saying that, but that's not going in the short footage because I don't know if that's wrong. But anyway, a big issue has been their middle to lower order. That's what I'd say their biggest issue has been. And the lack of a genuine match-winning all-rounder. And I haven't made this point before, which surprises me. I should have made this point before. Mehdi Hassan Miraz was that perfect kind of like all-rounder that should have been in the squad. Mehdi Hassan, he is not bad, but he hasn't fired this tournament, and that's something that's quite hindered Bangladesh in my opinion, because they rely quite heavily on that top order. Saif Hassan, Tanzid Hassan, Tawhid Shidori, Liton Das. Those top four batters are so crucial to them. And I think that's a big theme that I see in some of these teams. Some of these teams in the Asia Cup are heavily reliant on their top four. And when they don't fire, that's when the struggle comes. And the lack of a genuine all-rounder, I mean, the only genuine all-rounder that's done well in my opinion this tournament has been Hardik Pandya. And that's only because he's been bowling a lot better. I don't know, visually, it seems like he's doing a lot better than some of the other all-rounders in this tournament. Like, that might be a hot take, but that's just my opinion. Obviously, Dasun Shanaka was a surprise as well, but we'll get on to him in a bit later. Let's continue with Bangladesh. The bowling has been strong for Bangladesh. It's been strong. Taskin Ahmed, as usual, the leader of the attack. Of course, he didn't play against Sri Lanka, which baffles me. There's probably a reason behind it, but I haven't kept up too much with the Asia Cup as I probably should have, which begs the question why I'm making this, but I'm making this because I love the Asia Cup, even though I don't keep up with it as much as I should. Anyway, the bowlers have been impressive. I'm not going to reiterate the same point again. Like, obviously, you know Bangladesh's spinners. Bangladesh is more renowned for their spinners. But if I take a look, I need to look at Rashad Hussain's stats really quickly. Because I haven't seen how he's done this tournament. He's kind of just, like, he's one of the only genuine leg spinners I've seen for Bangladesh in a long time. And it's one of the first times that Bangladesh are investing in a leg spinner. It's not often that they manage to do it. And the thing about Rashad Hussain, he's a special case. Because he offers both leg spin and batting. And bear with me. He's only 23 years old as well, so he could potentially be in there for the long run. Let me have a look. How has he done? Yeah, just as I predicted, he hasn't really been needed with the bat. And 4 wickets in the last 3 games. Not too bad as it goes. The only thing that I could see, he picked up 2 wickets against Hong Kong, and he picked up 2 wickets against Afghanistan. Ooh, what was that? He picked up 2 wickets against Hong Kong and 2 wickets against Afghanistan, both teams which have been knocked out. Obviously, Sri Lanka are in there as well, so it begs the question, is he a little bit of a... Is he Pakistan and... Is he a Pakistan and mops the floor with the lower ranked teams and then fails to show up against the higher ones? I don't know. It's a small sample size, but it's something to keep in mind. Obviously, the disappointment for Bangladesh, in my opinion, it's. I need to be careful what I say here. I don't want to get it wrong. Oh my days. Because I know Ollie's gonna chew me out for it, and I'm gonna be in massive, massive trouble. Right, give me a sec. Okay, I can't say that player. Alright, keep in mind. Okay, I think I've got one in mind. I've got one in mind. The player that's been most disappointing, in my opinion, has been... Oh, I don't want to say it. If I say it, I'm gonna get smoked. Okay. This point, I can't really say. Okay, I'm gonna try this again. Bangladesh don't really have many disappointing players, in my opinion. They've all performed to a certain capacity, but I'm not gonna pick one in general. I'm just gonna say the category, the finishers. I've been a little bit disappointed with them, and so I'm talking about Nurul Hassan, Jaikar Ali, and Shamim Hossain, the finishers. I've been a little bit disappointed because Bangladesh, obviously, they're not renowned for their power hitting, and obviously with Mushfiqur Rahim being retired, you lose a lot of experience in the lower order and middle order. And that's where Nurul Hassan has come in. Obviously, he hadn't played for Bangladesh for a while. Like, I'd say about... I can't remember the exact time frame, but there was a point where he was dropped, and he returned back into domestic cricket. And currently, I mean, his performances are alright. But Jaikar Ali and Shamim Hossain have done decent enough as well. In that aforementioned game against Sri Lanka, it was those two who scored 45 or 40, roughly, against Sri Lanka. But what disappointed me was the slow strike rate at which they scored. 45 off 36, and then I think it was 40 off 30 odd, I'm pretty sure. 40 something off 40. No, 40 something off 40 off 30 odd. Yeah, get your words out right. So the tempo at which they've scored at for finishers hasn't been as good as perhaps it probably should be. And when you're looking at teams like Sri Lanka, who have pretty much amazing death bowling supplies like Matisha Patirana and Nuwan Tushara, that's where you're looking in quite a bit of trouble. Because you don't attack the players early on, the bowlers early on, I should say, then that leaves you in a tighter spot later on, especially teams which have amazing death bowlers. I think that's something that Bangladesh kind of learnt the hard way in that game. And even though, yes, they did collapse, it was a collapse, but you need that counter-attack. Like, you can't... Obviously, in T20, you can't just end up blocking the hell out of the ball. That doesn't win you games. It saves your wicket, and it allows you to build a platform, but it depends how... Because if they get a wicket suddenly, when you've built a platform, 20 runs off like 30 balls, you've wasted 10 balls. Like, this was the exact problem with Rizbar and with Rizwan and Babar for Pakistan. What they ended up doing, they ended up trying to build a platform, trying to get 30, 40 odd in the power play. But then, by doing that, they end up chewing up so many balls to the point where if they get out, those are wasted balls. They've got an eye on the pitch, but they've got out in such a cheap way that the new batter has to come in with limited balls compared to a pinch hitter going for it from ball one. And even if they get a 6 and they get out very next ball, that would be better than scoring 15 off 20 balls. That's just my opinion. I'm saying that would be better. I'd prefer them to hit a 6 and get out the very next ball than stay there and chew up deliveries for batters who are coming in and who can really show that aggressive stroke play. Anyway, where do I think Bangladesh are going to finish? I've spoken a lot about them already, and it's... Oh dear, I've spoken quite a bit, but where do I think they're going to finish? 3rd or 4th? That's where I'm saying they're going to finish. And I think it's really between Bangladesh and Pakistan, in my opinion, because Bangladesh, on paper, they don't seem like a horrible team. But when I just look at the other teams, there's so much more balance and so much more quality that I physically can't bring Bangladesh into the final. I can't. Anyway, we move on now. Everyone's favourite, Pakistan. Obviously, I've spoken a lot about Pakistan before the tournament, and I've spoken a lot about their 11s, so this one will be quite short. So you won't have to worry too much about another Pakistan rant, but I'm going to say this. I'm expecting us to finish 3rd or 4th. I'm not expecting us to finish below Bangladesh, but I don't think we're going to finish higher than Sri Lanka. There's a chance, and I'm actually quite excited for the Pakistan and Sri Lanka game. That is quite an even game. That will be a very good match to see. But let's get into some numbers. Let's talk about some of the games. Obviously, I've spoken about the India game before. I'm not going to reiterate the same points. I'm going to speak mostly about the game after. So, it's just been Saim Ayub. He's had a horrendous tournament. This has been a tournament to forget for him with the bat. The manner in which his dismissals have just been horrendous. Like, partially, some of them were to do with luck. Like, that first ball of Hardik Pandya, it's still stuck in my mind. The way he hit it straight to Jasprit Bumrah at point. That was... Oh, that must not have felt good. That was probably... That's one of the worst ways to get out. Because at least when you get out to a good delivery, you know you've been hard done by. But to get out to a short and wide delivery like that just simply isn't good enough. And I remember straight after the game, Mike Hesson put him in the nets and tried to make him hit that ball down. And he still got out for a second ball duck in the very next game. That just... Oh my days, Saim Ayub, you need to... It's been a tournament to forget for him, but if there's one thing that I've learnt about almost every Pakistan batter, you never underestimate us. I cannot speak today. You never underestimate them, because they can always come good, like, without you knowing. And that's something that I'm expecting to happen with Saim Ayub. I reckon he'll probably won't get a 50 or a 60 in the next game. I reckon he'll get about 10-15. He'll break his duck streak. Like, the last Pakistan batsman to score 3 ducks in a row was Abdullah Shafiq, and he was kicked out of the T20 side. I hope that doesn't happen with Saim Ayub. Although, like, this has been an issue with Pakistan batters that I've brought up in the past. Like, I'm speaking very briefly about this, but their stroke play is limited. Like, their knowledge of tonking the ball around there's such a massive gulf between that and India. Indian batsmen, because domestic cricket, like, that's about here compared to IPL domestic cricket. They're very similar. Obviously with IPL you have the influx of overseas stars, so that's what makes it a bit more difficult, but there isn't as much as a difference. When I go to Pakistan, however, this is international cricket, and this is domestic cricket. I'd go farther down, but this is how limited the camera is. But the issue is there's such a gulf between it, because the PCB they haven't really scheduled the domestic cricket as well as they should have. And the system has been so weak for so many years now. And I've always said this, Ramiz Raja was the best PCB chairman that we've had, because he wanted to nurture the younger talent. He even created the Pakistan Junior League, which in my opinion, one of the greatest ideas that Pakistan has come up with. That only happened for one season until Mohsin Naqvi shelved it, which... Oh, no, not... I think it was Zaka Ashraf. One of those two shelved it, and that I was really disappointed with that. You know, some of the batters that came out of there, like Arafat Minhas, he was a Pakistan player in there. I don't think Sufyan Mukim played in there. I reckon a couple more Pakistani players played in there. And they performed really well. But only a few of them have made the step up because of that small gap. And even today, we don't see as many Pakistan A or Pakistan Shaheens going up against the A's of other teams. Like, if you look at England, As look at England or India, they send out A squads almost every tour, and that keeps the competitive spirit high, and that's what keeps those players ready to keep going. The issue with Pakistan, however, is that because there's such turmoil going on within the system itself, it's not viewing cricket as separately. It's viewing cricket and politics bundled up, which is an argument I could make for India as well, but obviously their success kind of goes over those cracks massively, and there haven't been really many issues in terms of their performance. But anyway, I've got another person to talk about, Shaheen Afridi and Saim Ayub. The contrast: Shaheen Afridi, the amazing bowler; Saim Ayub, the amazing batter. It's switched. Actually, I'd class Shaheen more of an all-rounder now, but Saim Ayub, second highest wicket taker of the tournament, 6 wickets in his first 3 games. I didn't think anyone expected that coming. I don't think people expected Shaheen to be Pakistan's greatest finisher. At least, he's probably been their best batter in the last couple games, Shaheen Afridi. And the reason why I say that is because, yes, Sabizada Farhan scored 40 odd, but that was at less than a run a ball. He chewed up deliveries and did not stay till the end. The point I made earlier. Shaheen Afridi, however, he scored at such a quick rate, and against someone like Hardik Pandya in the death overs, who's bowling those slower balls, he's picking them and is launching the hell out of them. And even against the UAE as well, Shaheen was unstoppable with the bat. 33 off 16, I'm pretty sure. That was the highest score that any Pakistan batter could manage against a United Arab Emirates bowling attack. Not even a full member nation. Says all you need to know about Pakistan cricket at the moment. But it's been weird. It really has been. With Shaheen Afridi, it's understandable because he's been out for a couple years. He's been struggling with rehab. So obviously when he had that knee injury, he couldn't bowl at full tilt, which is why he had to go to the nets to practice his batting. Saim Ayub, however, I'm surprised. He's developed more into a genuine all-rounder, but that's obviously taken a hit on his batting. Now, if you ask me, I prefer Saim Ayub the batter over Saim Ayub the bowler because we've already got amazing spin options. Abrar Ahmed has done outstanding this tournament. He's done really well. One of our standout performers, in my opinion. Even if he didn't get the wickets, the fact that he remained economical against a batting attack like India, none for 17 I'm pretty sure he got. That is outstanding figures. Yes, he didn't pick up a wicket, but still, that game, in my opinion, was done by the time the second half even started. So, Saim Ayub and Abrar Ahmed, and Shaheen Afridi, the 3 of them have been really good for completely different reasons. But the disappointment though, Salman Agha, what has his game been the last few games? 3 off 12 against India, that is inexcusable. Yes, I agree that Indian spinners were breathing absolute fire. They had the ball on a string. But still, Salman Agha, someone who's usually much better at batting than against spin, to see the way that he struggled was really upsetting. Watching that 3 off 12 genuinely made me feel bad for him, because it's not entirely his fault. I'm pretty sure this is one of the first times that he's faced India, if not the second time, and that's the biggest thing about that India game. Most of those Indian players have played against Pakistan before. This is a young, new-look Pakistan that have only just started, in their new Hesson ball era. Mike Hesson taking over as coach. Obviously, a defeat like that is crestfallen. Not crestfallen. Is heartbreaking. It's really upsetting, especially if you were a Pakistan fan, because you were expecting, for us to tread new grounds, be more aggressive. But then, obviously, what happened there? We didn't become more aggressive. We folded. Got folded into an absolute ham sandwich. But anyway, I've spoken a lot about Pakistan cricket before, so I don't feel the need to speak about it even more. If you want, you can check out the other podcast. I'll make sure to put a link to the playlist, the podcast, in the description. Make sure you watch every single episode and keep up with every single episode. But I'm saying Pakistan are going to finish third or second. It will be between them and Sri Lanka. Now, speaking of Sri Lanka, we go on to them. Now, they've been really good this tournament. Clinical. I think they finished top of their group. Have they been unbeaten? I think they've been unbeaten. I mean, I expect them to have been unbeaten, considering how well they have done. Like, obviously, this is another case of opener syndrome. Kusal Mendes and Pathum Nissanka, what an opening combination. It's not a left-hand, right-hand combination, but the way that they play, it's beautiful to watch. The opening partnership lays a foundation for Sri Lanka, and then they have their natural players coming in. You have Kamil Mashada, Charith Asalanka, then you have your finisher, Dasun Shanaka, who's come back into the side, who's looking good. Who's looking really good, especially his bowling. Something that he's not really done as much recently, but he's been bowling good. This tournament, he's done well, from what I have seen. But the openers, once again, they have been outstanding, in my opinion. And in my opinion, Sri Lanka is probably the best team from their group. From their group, they looked like a team that was playing in harmony, playing to an absolute T. That's why I'm saying it will be very interesting to see the match against Pakistan, even though we might lose, but definitely it will be even more interesting against India, because it will be interesting to see how India manage their batters, first off and foremost, because Pathum Nissanka, he's grown into a bit of an all-format conqueror for Sri Lanka. He's done really well in Test cricket, ODI cricket, and T20I cricket. He's been one of those openers that have fallen under the radar in terms of global scale, but then in Sri Lanka, I'd say he's probably one of, if not their most important batter. Even Kusal Mendes as well, he did really well, and he complements Nissanka really well. Mendes goes after the spinners. Once he gets set, then there's pretty much no spinner he can take on. There's pretty much no spinner that can take him on, should I say. And we saw that against Afghanistan. Kusal Mendes did really well. And he played Noor Ahmed and Mohammad Nabi to an absolute T. And Rashid Khan, being as difficult as he is to get past, like, obviously you don't see many players, aside from Liam Livingston, take Rashid to the cleaners, but... oh, my days. Anyway. So... a big issue for me is that number 3 spot for Sri Lanka. They've trialled Kamil Mashara in there. And Kamil Mashara, he's an opener. He's not really a number 3 batter in my opinion. And it's really in that batting spot that I think there's a sense of concern. Because it'll all depend on, obviously, like, what bowlers they face. But it's a very right-hand heavy lineup. And there aren't many left-handers in there, which is why Kusal Perera in that middle order is so important, because Sri Lanka have too many right-handers. That's why I'm thinking instead of having Kamil Mashara at 3, they should have had a left-hander. But then here comes the point. What left-hander do they choose? Because Danushka Gunatilaka, he's not a left-hander. I don't think he is. You don't fact check me on that. But Janith Lianagi, he's not a left-hander. So it all comes down to a point where where have all the left-handed batsmen in Sri Lanka gone? Because they're in need of them. They're in need. That's, I'd say, the only weakness to this batting lineup. Charith Asalanka at 4. He is their most important batter. I'm saying that now. He is their captain. He leads from the front. He has the vital role of number 4. Like, obviously, being a number 4 batter, you have to either be prepared to come in and continue an onslaught, or if there's been a collapse, you need to rebuild or counter-attack. That's why I think Charith Asalanka's role at number 4 is so important. Number 4 batters are so important in general. Even if you look at England, Harry Brook at number 4. Because Harry Brook, he's he's a generational player. You have your best players at number 4, in my opinion, because they know the situation really well, and they can adjust really well. Like, other examples, for India, it could be Surya Kumar Yadav or Tilak Varma, 2 world-class batters. Then you also have, for Pakistan, Salman Agha. In the past, he's done really well at number 4. This tournament, not so much. And it's been... Charith Sri Lanka, he's had a really good run of late in a Sri Lankan shirt, in my opinion. Over the last few years, he's been really good for Sri Lanka. And I think because he's a left-hander in that middle order, along with Kusal Perera, that's what makes his role even more important. Like, Charith Sri Lanka, they need to keep persisting with him, because he is the guy that will either take them to the Asia Cup final and win them the title, or get them as close to it as possible. And the reason I say that is because he controls his bowlers so well, and we'll have a look at them now. Obviously you have the slingers, Nuwan Toshara, Mathisha Patirana. Patirana didn't play the last game, which surprised me, to be completely honest, because in my opinion, he's the better out of the two. He's better than Nuwan Toshara. Even though Nuwan Toshara did take a forfeit and has had a really good tournament, I still say Mathisha Patirana is better, because in my opinion, there is no job harder than bowling the death overs of an innings. Because that's when the team has nothing left to lose, they're throwing the kitchen sink at you, and they're expecting you to catch it with both hands instead of breaking it in your hands. And that's why I think Mathisha Patirana, even when it's a spin-friendly pitch, he should be playing. There's no excuse. And what has been strange has been like the way that they've used their spinners. I don't think... I'm gonna have to check this. I don't remember Mahesh Theekshana playing as much as he should have. He didn't play the game against Bangladesh. He didn't play the game against Bangladesh, which is very interesting. I don't think he played against Afghanistan either. No, he didn't play against Afghanistan. That is something interesting as well, because Sri Lanka have gone for more of a pace-heavy attack, when we've seen spinners do so well this tournament. And part of that is down to Walalagi, because they've entrusted him over Mahesh Theekshana, because he bats as well. They want that extra batting depth. Obviously, you can't really replace Mahesh Theekshana, because he's a rare type of spinner who can bowl at the death. Like, for England, this is like a Dan Mosley, but obviously Dan Mosley is nothing like Mahesh Theekshana, because Mahesh Theekshana aims for that Yorker. He doesn't bowl that much pace, but I'd compare Mahesh Theekshana to more of a finger spinner. A fast finger spinner. Kind of similar to Benny Howell, in my opinion. But I could just be chatting absolute waffle, I have no idea. But anyway, the slingers have been doing really well. I've mentioned that before. Dushmanta Chameera. He's been one of Sri Lanka's most important bowlers over the last 2 or 3 years. The strike bowler, in my opinion. And it's been a weird thing for Sri Lanka. At least every single one of their pace bowlers, barring Dasun Shanaka, have a kind of sling action to them. Not by massive amounts. Like, obviously, Nuwan Toshara and Mathisha Patirana, they have a massive slingy action. Dushmanta Chameera is kind of like a sidearm bowler, in my opinion. He's not really a sling bowler, but he just bowls it a little bit at an angle. And that's why he's so effective, in my opinion. Because he bowls at pace, and that's incredible. Most of these Sri Lankan bowlers are express pace. Dushmanta Chameera, over 145. Mathisha Patirana, over 145. Nuwan Toshara, about the 140s. So pace hasn't been an issue. What I think the biggest issue for this bowling lineup will be is that how they handle teams that are going to be throwing the kitchen sink at them. Like India. How is Nuwan Toshara going to handle Abhishek Sharma in that first over? How is he going to handle Saim Ayub or Sabizada Farhan or Tanzid Hassan, Saif Hassan? How are they going to manage that? Because the batters who they've faced up against haven't been as attacking. And that's been a real point of difference. Obviously, Afghanistan's openers, they haven't done as well as they should have for this tournament. Bangladesh's openers have been really strong. They would have been one of the real practices for Sri Lanka, obviously, if they hadn't been blown over. And Hong Kong. Need I say more? I'm sorry. But I'm going to be really interested to see how they're going to handle the batting lineup of India or Pakistan. I mean, against Pakistan, let's be honest, they'll probably throw them in the sink, but let a Pakistan fan dream. Anyway, I think they're going to be in the Asia Cup final. I have a very good feeling that they're going to be in the final along with India. And it's really going to be a toss-up between Pakistan and Sri Lanka, in my opinion. I'm expecting Sri Lanka to finish second. Right. India. I'm not going to speak much about India. I've spoken so much about them in the past. Obviously, they've done incredibly well. The spinners have been outstanding. And it's been bizarre today, actually. Today there's a bit of a moment I'd like to point out. Surya Kumar Yadav didn't bat the entire time, even though it was 188 for 8. Surya Kumar Yadav didn't decide to bat, which I find very strange. He sent Harshit Rana and Kuldeep Yadav before him, and he batted as a number 11. I'm not really too sure what the decision was behind that, but I mean, good on you, skipper. You get a day off. Yeah, look at me, because I'm Surya Kumar Yadav. I don't want to shake hands with the Pakistan team because they smell. Oh my days. I'm developing a strong hate for him now. Because of how dramatic that was. It's so stupid. But anyway. Obviously, there's not much I can say. What has been surprising in my opinion though, I will say one point, which I have found surprising. I need to get it up, but... Oh my days. Wait, where is it? I can't find it. Where is it? There we go. So one thing that I found interesting is that against Oman today, their bowling lineup has looked flat. It's looked really flat. I don't know whether that's just an attitude thing where it's like, oh, we're already in the Super Fours, so it doesn't really matter what we do to Oman now. But that's a little bit of a concern for India, in my opinion. Especially, they didn't take a single wicket in the power play. So, I think my biggest concern for India is the squad depth. Because Harshit Rana, they're obviously testing out some of the fringe players. Harshit Rana, he's not been a good enough backup as a pace bowler, or an all-rounder even. That's what they've struggled with for quite a while. They want another bowling all-rounder in the mould of Hardik Pandya. It's what they've tried to get Shivam Dube to do, with mixed results. And Harshit Rana, right now, he doesn't seem like the right backup bowler. Which begs the question why Mohammad Siraj wasn't in the tournament. That's still a decision I'm questioning now. Because the power play is the area of the game where you want to take control. And I feel like against Pakistan, India did get really lucky in those first couple of overs. Because the intent wasn't there. The intent that Pakistan showed was not near good enough. And especially with some of the way that they got off, the shot selection was poor, which only helped India more. Obviously, against Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, that could change. But guess what? They've alleviated that somehow by bowling Jasprit Bumrah up front. And this is what they gain from bowling so many spinners. They have Varun Chakravarti, Kuldeep Yadav and Akshar Patel all working in tandem. Akshar Patel, he's in the mould of Ravindra Jadeja. Obviously not as good as a fielder, but his batting, his bowling, it's all there. It's all good. And that's really what India really need. Because it balances out the lineup. because they're able to play the extra two spinners. By bowling Jasprit Bumrah earlier on, it means that not only are you giving the opposition more chances to try and attack him, because the spinner strangle is coming later on. That will be hard to negotiate, which is why they have no choice but to attack him. And especially when you have two fielders out in the power play, it's a very enticing offer even. Very enticing offer. And it really nullifies that threat. That's why I think India have been the strongest this tournament. They've played the 8 ball to an absolute T. They know exactly who's bowling when. They know how their lines and lengths perfectly. It's like they've been playing on Cricket Captain and they've been absolutely repeating it non-stop, doing VR training, absolutely smashing it. But my main concern is going to be the squad depth, because if an injury happens to a key player, then I think it kind of ruins the lineup. Especially if Akshar Patel were to get injured, that throws a whole spanner in the wrench for India, because then who do you replace with him? Because there are no other spin bowling all-rounders in the squad, or at least no other ones to the Akshar Patel's level. But I'm saying they're going to finish top of the table. And I'll briefly talk about the batting for a little bit. Abhishek Sharma, he's kind of continued his hit or miss technique, and he's scored really quick runs. 33 off 16, I think, against Pakistan. He nullified Shaheen Afridi's threat, and that's why I think that. Definitely against Sri Lanka, who have a much better new ball bowling attack, in my opinion. It will be very interesting to see how India negotiate that, because I don't think Abhishek Sharma will stop. He hasn't had much of a failure in the last couple times, so I'm expecting him to continue with that technique. And we could be in for a big score here. Obviously, the very first game that India play is up against Pakistan, and I think this will be a lot closer, in my opinion, because this will be the second time they face each other. And I think Pakistan will make a few changes. I'm predicting maybe Fahim Ashraf will go out and they'll bring Haris Rauf in. And India, they're going to go with their strongest lineup, the exact one that they used to beat Pakistan with. And it will be really interesting to see how they manage to deal with that. This is my little preview. Obviously, the big threat will be Shaheen Afridi. In those opening overs, he's come back as the main threat. If Pakistan win the toss, they need to bowl first. Chasing has always been their strong suit. That is something that just doesn't change with Pakistan. When they set a target, they're under pressure. And they're very apprehensive. They don't know how the pitch is played. When they're bowling first, however, they have their strongest skill up there. I still say that bowling has been Pakistan's strongest suit. Abrar Ahmed has worked really well in tandem with Saim Ayub this tournament. And Shaheen Afridi has done really well as well. As the lone pacer, it's not only been his batting. Obviously, that's the main thing that we've seen this tournament. But against India, he had a bit of an off day, even though it wasn't entirely his fault. But I think this just makes me even more angry that Nazim Shah wasn't in the squad. Nazim Shah, who's out there in the Caribbean, doing well for St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots, is not in the squad. I don't know if that's to manage his workload or something, but that's not a decision that I'm on board with. Nazim Shah is one of Pakistan's best right-arm pacers. Obviously, he's had a rough time of it the last few years, but I'm saying that he's back, he's fit and firing, and Fahim Ashraf, as much as I've praised him in the past, he has not performed. These performances have not been it. And Mohammad Nawaz as well. Obviously, it's different compared to the first few games or the games in the Tri-Series, but right now I'm not seeing results. Pakistan have tried in the old and faithful, players who could fit the current mould, who haven't fit the previous ones. I think after this tournament, Fahim and Nawaz won't play for Pakistan again. It will really depend how they perform, though. If they don't perform this tournament, then I will be fine with them staying out of the squad. Because Abbas Afridi and You also have Sufyan Makim, two up and rising players who are coming up through the ranks. I definitely think they're in need of more game time. But anyway, that's been my predictions for the Asia Cup, the Super 4 the Super 4 preview, we can call it. And this will be very interesting in my opinion. This has the potential to be a really good Asia Cup. Although I still think India or Sri Lanka will be the ones to win the title. I'm not saying Sri Lanka will defend their title. No, their T20 title, should I say, but I think India will win this tournament, and that is my prediction. Thank you guys so much for watching the podcast. We really appreciate it on the Wicket Watch channel. Make sure you keep supporting us on TikTok. Make sure to drop a follow on there, drop a like. Also, on this podcast, on this channel, make sure you subscribe, click the like button, click the bell notification icon to never miss another podcast. And if you've enjoyed the podcast, give us a comment. We haven't had a comment yet, so you could be the first one. And I think that's pretty much it for me. Check out the new episodes. Make sure you stay updated on the Asia Cup, and I will see you for the roundup. Have a good one.